Hello, guys. Hello. Hello, if you can hear me, type in the comment box. Let me see that you can hear me. And if I'm sideways, let me know. If my head is sideways, if it is all right, then we crack it on. Can somebody hear me, please? Please, if you can hear me, let me know. Thank you very much. Since you can hear me, then we get going. Welcome back to this live information. I will say a few things because you will soon be going to the class with Dr. Agbele Oba, and I will still continue the parts of speaking that I should be taking while you move on with it. So I want you to pay close attention. It's not going to take time at all. 10-15 minutes, we should be out of here. But whatsoever we discuss is very, very, very important to everybody's success in the test. So I will briefly discuss with us the principles of effective paraphrasing in IELTS. Paraphrasing is like the oxygen we breathe in to IELTS, whether speaking, whether writing, listening, or reading. All the modules of IELTS, you must be able to paraphrase effectively to be very successful, and it will actually make life easy for you too, because you can easily grasp what the if it is in listening, what you are being told in your audio. If it is reading, you can easily bring in things together, bring them together, and know this is where the answer should be found. And when it is speaking too, it's going to help you to project you as someone who have good grasp of English to your examiner. So your examiner will be looking for someone who is not saying the same things repeatedly, who is not using the same word repeatedly, who have some other words they can bring in to spice up what you are saying. Like, it's more beautiful when you are cooking for yourself. Yesterday you cook rice, today you make a ogbono soup, and in the morning that was all you ate to church. You came back, you felt okay, I want to eat pounded yam, you made that, you made egusi soup. But then if since Monday rice and beans, Tuesday rice and beans, Wednesday rice and beans, Thursday rice and beans, in fact the kind of fats you'll be releasing around, you'll not be able to cope with yourself. Besides that, let's remove that one. The taste will become, you become, the taste becomes meaningless to you. That was something that had been very maybe tasty to you the very first day you cooked it, or even the second day you might still enjoy it. Third day might still bring some levels of enjoyment. But by the time you are becoming taste bound, I mean the food is becoming taste bound, then you start sort of repelling it, or what you are bringing up, maybe belching and all those things, will not be palatable to you, not because it is rice and beans, but because it is too constant. So it is the same thing too. When you don't know how to tweak your English to your examiner, for your examiner you should be able to change it. So there are ways you can do the changing. You can do it in diverse ways. You can use synonyms, and we've promised that at some point we start coming up with our vocabulary drills. So possibly from Wednesday, we should start coming with for our vocabulary drill. So you can use synonyms. So in using synonyms, you can replace the word that have been said with another word that means nearly the same thing. And so you can come with I bought so 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 so. I purchased so 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 so. You understand? That is that. You've paraphrased. So it is rephrasing, reframing those words that you are using. That is what paraphrasing is all about. So you are not going about with have you bought anything at the supermarket before? Yes, I went to the supermarket last week and I bought a frame for my spectacles. I bought the frame for 200 naira. When I bought the frame, I paid the cashier the very amount that I bought the frame. You understand? We were using but. Whereas you could have, okay, yes, I bought so. I purchased a spectacle from which mall can we talk about now? Gigi or whatsoever the name is. So I purchased a spectacle from Gigi, and when I bought that, I had to pay for, I've purchased, I bought. We've changed the word but alone. We've used another word, purchase. You can change to another word like that. You can have myriads of words that you can actually use to replace words, and just make sure when you are replacing those words, just like we're taught in English in those secondary school days, you are retaining the form at that point. Except if you are using another form, then you must ensure that in the context and in the content where you are using them, they are grammatically correct. You will see more of Dr. Agbile Oba on that. So don't keep saying I buy, I procured, I purchased, I bought. You can use all those words to spice up whatsoever you are discussing with your examiner. Same way, you can talk of spending money, expenditure. You can use that, invested or invest or all those things. You can use all those words to start bringing things together. We still make some sentences when we keep going so that you know. You can change the form of the words that you want to, that is the key word, or the words that are the key words in that discussion. So you can look at, okay, have you bought anything for yourself in an online market before? Yeah, I procured my gown from an online market. And about bought, you've used the word procure. Said you were not used to buying things still related to bought. Bought is buying, is procuring, and all those things. So you've changed. And even when you continue, you may actually continue saying that when I was growing up, I wasn't actually used to procuring items to purchasing items from online markets, because I believe in following my mother to the open market to make purchases. And whenever we went there, I discovered that I was always very shy to bargain things, unlike my mother, who was used to that style of living, style of life. And so because I was always very, very reluctant to bargain for items, I discovered that they were cheating me anytime I actually spent my money in ensuring that I got some things for myself from the market. And so I discovered that as time as everything kept going on, that I would prefer to buy things maybe using a third party. And so since that time, I managed to get someone who do go to the market physically. So this one is not completely online, but then they still do go there physically to see the things that I possibly have requested them to buy for me. Those are the things that I do these days. But then in the nearest future, I'm hoping that I will be able to summon the courage to go outside to the market there and make my own bargaining and also buy whatsoever I want to. We've used bought, we've used buy, we've used purchase, we've used procured, we've used buying. You see, we've changed the forms. We've used the past tense, we've used the present tense, and we've used the continuous tense. That is how you can change the form. And this is not limited to your speaking. You should take great cognizance of these things and hold them well when you are doing your writing too. In fact, when you are doing your writing, it's very, very important that the moment you pick your pen, maybe you want, they give you a question in map or all those graphs or whatsoever. Let's assume that you have something like a bar graph or a bar chart that shows some information about how a bricklayer or how some bricklayers used different colors of mud blocks to build an auditorium, and you have to come to paraphrase those things. This is the third part, third way with which you can paraphrase. You can actually change the word order. You can change the order in which those things appear or in which your examiner give them to you. So let's say this is the question I have. If you want to write, the bar chart below, like this is right now, shows the utilization of different colors of mud blocks in an African village between 2001 and 2010. So if you want to paraphrase, you might come and say the bar chart reveals how different colors of mud blocks were utilized over a decade in an African village to construct an auditorium. Or you can say utilized over 10 years. 10 years, a decade, you have used synonyms. So, and you've changed the order. Instead of saying the bar chart below reveals how different colors of mud block were used for your sisters. You can ask your dad. Take some, please. Don't worry. All right. So you can now see that we've changed the order in which those words came on. We did not come now to be saying the bar chart below shows the utilization of different colors of. We said the bar chart below reveals how different colors of mud blocks were utilized. When it was starting, it was starting with utilization. And that was like at the very first few words, we've used the word utilization. But when we now came to paraphrasing it, we now change it completely. Maybe you should listen again. The bar chart below, that is the four question. I mean, the main word there. The question you possibly will be given or were given, and so the bar chart below shows the utilization. See that space that utilization occupies in that question you were being asked. Utilization of different colors of mud blocks in an African village between 2001 and 2010. Okay, so now what we paraphrase is the bar chart below reveals how different colors of mud blocks were utilized. So we've changed that space where utilization appears to almost far towards the end of the statement. You will see it when this come up, that when you rewind this after the classes, then you will understand that, okay, yeah, that was what the position that was taken. So you can actually change the position where those words appear in the order in which those words appear in your discussion. You can actually do that, and you will have very great paraphrasing. And you can change from active to passive tenses. You can change the way they appear. You know, in those days they taught us how you can, if the word is starting from here, you can now tweak it that the one that have started the discussion will be the one that will be at the last end. So let's see now. If you want to change, the bricklayers invest over 200,000 into buying bricks for the construction of the auditorium. You can now start by saying the amount that was used, or 200,000. You can now start, you can now say that 200,000 was spent or invested in the purchase of bricks to build the auditorium. In that way, you've changed it. You will now not appear to your examiner as someone who does not really know what they are doing. You will not appear to your examiner as someone who is struggling with English. Same way, when we say you should use appropriate vocabularies, because IELTS want you to use appropriate vocabularies, not just things that cannot be found. But let's say you have a question. I'm doing some other things that is close to paraphrasing now, because you're going to paraphrase there. But in this situation, you are using vocabularies. The idea we have when we talk about vocabularies is some big English words and all those things, but really they are not supposed, they do not necessarily need to be very big words. Such beautiful teeth. Where did we get that from? Thank you very much. If that's for me, I think I'm hearing that for like the third time in my lifetime. Or reading that. Okay. So when it comes to using appropriate vocabularies, it's not, like I said, doesn't necessarily need to be big. So now let's look at this word bricklayer too. You are talking about the house that was recently constructed in your environment, the house that was recently built in your environment. So you want to say, there have been so many houses. There were so many houses in my environment, and very beautiful, because I live in a reserved area. It's a very beautiful environment. But in the last 3 months, I discovered that a gigantic building was constructed at the front of my house. And it just started like child's play. They started making the foundations, and I learned it was one very wealthy man who's been living outside the shores of Nigeria that was investing into building the house. And I discovered that they actually brought some architects after they've made initial survey of the place. So the surveyors were said to have actually been also expatriates from India or from Japan, whichever country you think you want to put in there. So the surveyors were actually brought in from Japan, and they made a very beautiful work there. So thereafter, the architects then made a beautiful design, which I learned was perfected at the Department of Structural Engineer at the University of Ibadan by so professor. Name a professor that does not exist. They will not go there to find out whether that professor is in existence. In fact, I need to chip this in, that we used to tell people here that IELTS is not a test of sincerity. It's not a test of faithfulness. It's not a test of honesty. And maybe you may not want to think that when you are putting your stories together to make them appear interesting, maybe the trumpet you will sound and you now go to hell. No, it's very unlikely. Dr. Agbeleba, I used to say it's creativity. They call it creativity, because before I used to say, okay, maybe people may lie. He said, no, it's creativity. And except I want to be much more faithful than the Pope. I know Dr. Agbeleba is one of those that is very close to God's heart. Okay, that by the way. So bring in your creativity. So you've talked about surveyor. Those are the things that you see when people are constructing houses. You see them. You talked about architects. You see them. You talked about structural designs. You see them. Then you now said about, maybe you now say, and they started laying the foundation just about 4 weeks ago, and I was surprised to see that the building, and I just woke up to see that a gigantic structure had erupted. You use gigantic for building, you use the word structure, you use that one for building. The word eruption, you use it for building. You may not know how well you are doing until that result is out. So please don't limit yourself to thinking that I must find synonym for building. And even while we're trying to build those words, we were bringing in words that are synonymous with building. We talked about construction, constructed. We talked about eruption. We talked about gigantic. Of course, that's an adjective you can use to describe so many things. But I'm sure building is one of the things you can actually use the word gigantic to talk about. So those are the ways you keep on pushing it, such that your examiner will know related vocabularies are not necessarily about bringing big vocabularies. You are to bring in things that when someone is reading them, they are having the mental picture. Like, let's even say you are not making statements. Your daughter or your son just came back from school maybe last week and brought a list, and on that list, you saw construction, you saw architect, you saw surveyor, you saw possibly bricklayer, maybe you saw carpenter, or maybe you saw laundry in that same book, and you saw the the sitting room. You saw all those words. By the time you see all those words, something in you will be telling you they are about talking about what? Let's drop the information there. They're about talking about okay. They're about getting about what, please? So, something you will be talking like when you are listening to such conversation. When you are reading, no, oh goodness, I can't see you guys. What's going on here? All right. So something you will be talking, when you see something like that, you will be thinking, oh, they're about talking about a house. They're about talking about a house. They're about talking about a particular house. These are the things that we see, and you say you are building vocabularies. So I think we should come back to the class. Maybe we should call this a good time now. And if we have time, we can come back. But I think I've driven some points home that when you are when you are paraphrasing, there are things you can use. And you can use combination of words. You can change forms. You can use synonyms. You can use active and passive voices, active and passive sentences in the same discussion that you are bringing up, and you will still be very, very good. So thank you guys for staying around. We can still come back at some point so that we get it going. I still have some time if we are happy to come back. God bless you all.